While we say that we have a walk of faith, we walk by belief in our trust, is it not possible that we're still counting on our merit, our accomplishments, to stand rightly before Yah? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 5 of the Torah portion, Devarim. Let's go now, Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter number 3. Begin reading with verse 1. Then we turned and went up the way to Bashan. And Og, sovereign of Bashan, came out against us, he and all of his people, to battle at Edrei. Yahweh said to me, "Do not fear him, for I have given him and all of his people and his land into your hand. And you shall do to him as you did to Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon." So Yahweh our Elohim also gave into our hands Og, sovereign of Bashan, with all of his people, and we struck him until he had no survivors remaining. So we're talking about complete and total devastation and a complete victory here in warfare. The ancient Torah commentator Rashi makes an interesting point here concerning Og of Bashan and Yah's command in verse 2, "Do not fear him." When it came to dealing with Sihon, king of the Amorites, Yah didn't have to warn Moshe not to fear him. But with Og, he did. So what's the difference? Rashi says in his commentary that Og is the one mentioned in Bereshit 14:13, Genesis 14:13. Let's read that verse. "And one who had escaped," and this is dealing in the time of warfare of the kings in the valley of Sodom, in the valley of the pits, if you will. And there's 4 kings against 5, and Lot, Abraham's nephew, has gotten caught up in the middle of it. One has escaped the battle scene in verse 13, and one who escaped came and informed Avram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, brother of Aner, and they had a covenant with Avram. And that's when later Abraham, learned that Lot, his nephew, had been taken. So there is this reference in verse 13 to one who had escaped. Somehow Rashi has postulated the idea that the one who had escaped was none other than Og of Bashan, and that because he had done this service of escaping the battle to come and inform Avram about his nephew Lot, that he had achieved some sense of merit in the eyes of Yah, and that for his good deed he may have some standing with Yah enough to be resisting in his capabilities against the army of Israel. But nevertheless, Yah makes it clear to Moshe here and says, "Do not fear him. I've given him and all of his people and all of his land into your hand. It's going to go well." Now, again, this all is speculation. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. This is all based upon the commentary that Rashi has written. And when it comes to the ancient commentators, Rambam, Ramban, Rashi, Onkelos, and others, I give credence to them to the degree that they have been studying or have studied this thousands of years before we got involved. And the rabbinical mind has quite the reputation for delving much deeper in the ability of studying the Hebrew than what we native English speakers might be capable of. So I don't write them off too quickly. I still disagree at times, but at least give it plausible thought. So again, this is Rashi's perspective. It may or may not be accurate. Again, it's his perspective. But this viewpoint does raise a question for us. And I'll read this. Will Yahweh disregard all merit-worthy acts of the Goyim, of the Gentiles, when it comes to resisting the people of Israel? Will he only see those deeds that the Goyim, or Gentiles, that require judgment if they rise up against his people? Consider America. We are known as a nation who has fought for the liberty of other peoples. We were those who went into the concentration camps toward the end of World War II and liberated the Jewish prisoners there. We have, in many ways, fostered technology and development of things that have benefited the world. We have fed starving peoples the world over with massive grain shipments. We have invested in other countries. We rebuilt Europe out of our pockets after World War II was completed. We have shed American blood in behalf of other people. There is a lot that could be said about the good that America has accomplished. Of course, you balance that with the darker side of our history and the long list of things that we don't want to brag about, and many of us don't even want to know about, things that have been done. So where then do we stand? Can we stand as a nation based on merit? In the parable where Yeshua says that he will separate the sheep from the goats, if you go back and look at that, you'll find that he's not talking about individual people. He's talking about nations, peoples, plural. So Yah is saying to us then that you can't count on merit. If Og indeed was the one who had escaped and came and informed Abraham, for whatever good that he had done, Yah says, I'm judging him. Now, what did Yeshua say about this? At least in one place, a very familiar scripture in the book of Matthew, chapter number 7, verse 22 and following says, Master, many will say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name and cast out demons in your name and done many mighty works in your name? So they're looking at their merit, their accomplishments, justifying and giving credence to what they have accomplished by naming the name of Yeshua in connection to what they believe that they have done that is righteous. And then I shall declare to them, Yeshua said, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work. This translation says lawlessness. One could, and I believe this is correct, insert the word Torahlessness. Those of you who are against my commands. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them shall be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. You know the parable, how that the rain came down, the floods came, the wind blew and beat on that house. Ironically, it's a thunderstorm going on outside right now. And it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them shall be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came, the floods came, the winds blew, they beat on the house, and it fell, and great was its fall. Yeshua then is likening obedience to his word, which is a demonstration of faith and belief, to be that which gives us a bedrock foundation that will sustain us. While unbelief, based on disobedience and rejection of his word, his commands, is to build our house on shifting sand. Don't count on merit. Count on righteousness. Shabbat Shalom. May the presence of Yah fill your house, your heart, your mind, your spirit, and those that you meet with. May he be good to you, show his favor, and delight you with his face. We'll see you again next week. Until then, Shabbat Shalom.